Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that's really important to me, and that is how to deal with the limbo phase. What is the limbo phase? The limbo phase is that really emotional, difficult time between first noticing that your child is developing differently to their peers and either an official diagnosis or maybe enough progress and development where actually it turns out that your child is fairly typical, they were just slower to develop those skills. I know when you go through this phase, everything feels like a wait. You're waiting for appointments, you're waiting for assessments, you're waiting for your child to develop, to see who they are and learn more about them. It is all waiting, and it feels like there's nothing you can do but wait, and that's wrong. There are tons of things you can do, and I'm going to talk about the 10 most important things that you can do whilst you are in that limbo phase. I'm going to start by talking about some very practical things that you can do, and then I'm going to move on to how you can maybe emotionally deal with it. Now, I can't stress this enough. How hard you find this journey is so dependent upon your approach and the way you view autism and the way you look at the whole thing. I recently went through this whole phase with my son. My son now is 3, oh my goodness, he's almost 4. He is still non-verbal, but he is incredible and he has so many skills. He's the loveliest little boy. We started noticing signs in him from like 12, 13 months old. I myself went through a really rough patch emotionally, found things very overwhelming, and it needn't really have been as dark a time as it was. So number 1, something very practical, is gather all of your child's information and keep it very organized in a file or something like that. You will likely be bombarded with lots of different reports from lots of different professionals, maybe a childcare setting, a nursery or a school or a preschool, and communication between all those people isn't always great. You may need to be the go-between. Things get lost and things get lost in translation. So make sure you keep all of those things together. And furthermore, you know your child better than anyone. If you see a period of progression or you notice something on those reports that is not accurate or no longer accurate, make sure you get them updated, and at the very least, make sure they have your parental views or notes on file. Number 2, learn what to expect at the evaluation or assessment process. You need to be asking lots of questions because the more prepared you feel, the easier you'll find the whole thing, and talking to people in advance will probably help ease your fears as well. So ask things like, what specialists or what professionals can you expect your child to be seen by? Pediatricians, speech therapists, some other developmental specialists? Will there be additional medical testing like blood tests for genetics? Will the whole assessment process, will it be quite structured and formal like an ADOS assessment, or will it be a bit more informal, play-based, more looking at the reports and some very simple observations by a pediatrician? That's how my son was diagnosed. Ask what the waiting times are in your area. Ask when you can expect to have answers and what the time scale is. You know, you don't need to be aggressive in this, but ask those questions, send those emails, make those phone calls, be really proactive. I know these people are very busy and they can't reply to everyone immediately, but you have a right to know what is happening with your child. They are not public property just because they are developing differently. You deserve to know what this whole process is going to entail. Number 3, find out about autism from the people who know it best. Autistic people. So how do you do this? Well, thankfully there are many autistic adults who are self-advocates and advocates for other people with autism, and it is really very important that you get their perspective. There are autistic-led charities. See if there's one in your area or if there's one you can contact online. Autistic-led charities are charities that are run or have the involvement of people with autism themselves. Now, their approach can be very different to some of the other autism charities out there. Ideally, there would be one in your area with a group you could take your child to, and you know, they're very accepting places. They're not looking at your child as broken and needing to be fixed. They're looking at ways in which they can be accommodated and celebrated and have all their needs met and strengths appreciated. There are also lots of Facebook groups and other social media groups, other forums that are run by autistic people. It might completely change the way you view autism and disabilities in general. Number 4, connect with other parents in the limbo phase, because it is so much easier to walk this path with other people right beside you going through the same thing. We have a Facebook group if you want to check us out that's full of parents in this situation. If you just search on Facebook for Nurturing Neurodiversity, the page should come up, and then through the page you can find the group. Be very, very careful of joining just general autism parenting groups, because not everybody has the same approach. I personally would prefer to join a parenting group that celebrated neurodiversity and follows those sort of accepting principles of neurodiversity. So be careful what you see online and who you connect with at this very early stage, because it can really impact your mental health. And if you're not in a great place mentally, then you're not going to be in the best position to support your child. Number 5, and this is probably the most important one. It's important that when you are in this limbo phase, you learn about autism. But it is more important to learn about your child, because autism affects every single individual differently. And you only learn through observing them very, very closely. Write down your observations, make a note of the ways in which they communicate, and you might think, well, they don't communicate at all. Everybody communicates. Are they exhibiting a certain behaviour? Do they make a high-pitched noise when they're tired? Do they hum when they're concentrating? Do they run around when they're bored? Like, these give you very specific clues to their needs, helps you become more in tune with them. And the more in tune you are with your child, the safer they will feel, the more understood they will feel, and that will minimize any more challenging or disruptive behaviors. Also, the more in tune you are with them, the more likely they are to let you in and share their world with you and engage with you. Write down everything, every tiny thing that you see that they are good at or interested in, because that is your way in. That is your way to connect with your child over the coming months or years. It's invaluable. Number 6, and this is a really, really fun one. Create a happy times album. Take a photo every single day of a situation involving your child where you felt happy. Maybe they demonstrated a new skill, maybe you just did something fun. You could even join one of those, like, I don't know, what are the apps where you get so many free prints a month. And you could have like a physical reminder of all these fun times. Doing something like that is really important because it makes you consciously remember what is important in all this, and that is everybody experiencing joy and happiness as a family. So, so important. The only thing that matters in all of this, really. Number 7, and this is very similar to the last point, but keep a written journal. And this is more about keeping a note of when your child gained new skills, like positive things that they've done. Like, you can keep a journal of like behaviours and things that you need to talk to the paediatrician about. Of course you can, and that could be helpful as well, but balance it. Make sure you keep a note of all the positive things as well. And also, if it helps, have a section where you write down your feelings. Some people find that really helpful. I know parents are super busy, super busy. So it doesn't have to be daily. Maybe you could set time aside once a week to do it, or, you know, every few days, or even once a month. But I just think writing it down and having that reminder to look back on is really helpful for when you're feeling low or fearful about the future, or, you know, feeling all those overwhelming things that you will feel from time to time. It's totally normal to feel those things. Number 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Set time aside every day. Maybe it's just 5 minutes, ideally it will be a little bit longer, where you sit next to your child with zero expectation of how that situation is going to go. So therefore you are not disappointed if your child doesn't interact with you or even look at you at all during that time. But sit next to them every single day and just copy what they are doing. If they're lining things up, sit next to them and line things up yourself. If they're spinning something, sit down next to them and spin something else. And whilst you're doing it, comment in a really expressive way. You're commenting on the thing, you're not talking to the child, by the way. So you're inviting them in, but there's no expectation of them to be part of it. You can expand on the thing that they're playing with. So say they are, I don't know, say they really like Play-Doh. So you can get all different kinds of Play-Doh, like glitter Play-Doh, and is that even a thing? Can you get glitter Play-Doh? But like different colours, and you know, whatever they're doing, you do it over there, and they'll take interest in, oh, I really like your glitter Play-Doh that might not even exist because I've just made it up, and they will come over. Hopefully, and if they don't, they don't. But I think over time, if you do that consistently, they will start to take interest, they will start to realise that, you know, what you're doing is interesting and it's actually fun to join in. But they know that they are not obliged to, and they are not doing it to perform for you because they feel like they have to. Number 9, if at all possible, and I know we are all very restricted on time, but set aside an hour or a couple of hours each week where you focus on you, or you and maybe any other of your child's siblings, or maybe you and your partner. It has to be something you enjoy doing, and it has to be in that window of time. Do not, well, I say don't think about autism, it's difficult when it's on your mind all the time, but try not to think about or talk about autism, okay? Don't make autism bigger than your family, because it is part of your family story, but it isn't your entire family story, and it never ever will be. Finally, number 10, let go of that question that's going round and round your head. Are they autistic? Aren't they autistic? Are they going to get a diagnosis? Are they not going to get a diagnosis? It's almost impossible to let go of that question in the waiting period, isn't it? I know it is. But then try and replace it with a different question. And that different question is your child developing differently to their peers? Are they behaving differently to their peers? And the chances are the answer is going to be yes. And if the answer is yes, it means in some way, whether they are autistic or they aren't, their brain is developing a little bit differently. It's wired differently, which means you have to parent differently. And that's totally okay. You can spend a lot of time and energy obsessing over that question. What if you funneled that energy into doing all of the things that I've just talked about? I think that's a far more productive use of your time rather than asking the same question over and over again. Because at the end of the day, the answer to that question, whether it be yes or no, you still don't know what the impact of that is going to be for your child's future. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, if you liked it, subscribe. We have a ton of other videos if you want to check out more about my son and our family situation. You can also join us on Facebook and Instagram. I think that's it. Stay positive, guys. It's going to be okay. I promise. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you again soon. Bye.